Welcome to my awesome health journey. I'm Brett Dupree, and today I'm going to talk about kind of what my video was 2 days ago, which is really want to talk about what I'm afraid of, and when it comes to having a vision, having a purpose, because even though there's part of me that doesn't like it and feels kind of lost, there's also a part of me that is fine with it. It's fine. I feel kind of fine where I'm at. I don't feel enough pain to try to push through this, and I don't see something exciting enough to be able to want to go forward as well. And there's certain aspects of it. Let's talk with this simple one: fear of failure. Creating videos such as this and have nobody watching. Sure, the psychic lady was like, people want to hear you be authentic and come up here and talk about your struggles. I'm like, I can look through my history of doing this. I've been doing videos since I think 2009, and I can say that that so far hasn't been true. In fact, even these videos of my awesome health journey have diminished in views over the last year since I've done them relatively consistently. And again, I'm doing them for doing them's sake of getting my body out there and maybe inspiring one or two people. But at the same time, like, history has not shown that me getting up here talking about myself and my ideas is going to spark like a lot of people. I mean, there are some people who do that, and everyone who watches this, I do appreciate. There's also the fear of success a little bit. You know what life looks like, the uncertainty of it, and change is kind of scary. So there's some of that as well. A fraud phenomenon is another one. Who am I? Who am I? I mean, again, to talk in these videos and think that someone actually wants to listen to me, that takes a lot of ego. It's almost kind of narcissistic in a way, if you really think about it. I mean, who has a biggest ego than an influencer who thinks like their normal life is something that people want to see? And people do want to see it, but at the same time, it takes a lot to uh, put it out there of like, you know. And there's a part of me, especially since my social anxiety is not being seen and thinking people don't like me. And that's constantly throwing my mind. So here I am, throwing out this, video out into the internet where a lot of people could, want to make fun of me, especially being a bigger person. Uh, those are the normal fears. The one that really eats up at me is the fear of feeding my neuroses, feeding my abandonment strategy, my coping strategy. See, I disassociate. I tend to like go into my head um, and not deal with problems, or to almost like lighten them away. Like, so, like, to not really face my problems, but kind of veer away from them. And one thing I noticed about personal growth and personal development is I became very good of utilizing stuff like the law of attraction to try to um, push the view of the world that I wanted, thus not really looking at the reality of the situation that I'm in, and really just focusing on what I want, what I want, what I want, but also ignoring the problems that I have, that I need to deal with, that I need to work on. And a lot of personal growth, personal development really plays into this idea of like positive life, positive vibrations, and positive thoughts will just fix everything or lead you down a path to fix everything. And it also kind of leads you in the path where you don't have to make decisions, which is something I don't like doing. Um, Sometimes, because that's kind of vulnerable and putting it out there. But if you don't let the universe make my decisions for me, that kind of takes away some of the responsibility. It's the universe's will, God's will, if you will. And thinking about that, that's how is that feeding that aspect of me, the part that doesn't want to look at issues as they are, but look at them how I want them to be, and to use that in a way where I'm thinking I'm not doing that. Spiritual bypassing of just like spiritualing away issues and problems, and not truly dealing with them, but thinking that I did deal with them in magical sort of ways. That's part of it. Especially learning about the dangers of positive thinking, the dangers of the law of attraction. And listening to that podcast, Conspirituality, I listened to this one episode where these two people grew up pretty much in that Joe Dispenza, who was one of my favorites of the personal growth, but they kind of grew up since young children in that kind of environment, and how that trying to be positive all the time and trying to look at the world and create their positive mindset just kind of created this panic of like, oh my gosh, I'm having negative thoughts and there's something wrong with them. And that actually created so much anxiety of having to police their thoughts over and over and over again, and how much damage that actually did to their lives. And there's a huge part of that in personal development, personal growth, and all of that. There's just so much ability to not deal with issues or actually create new ones by trying to, be positive, trying to always find the positive thoughts, trying to let go of the negative thoughts, doing all those work, all those exercises, and how that actually can be damaging to your mental health. And to be honest, with what happened to me in 2016 was one of the worst years of my life. It didn't really help me, and I was pretty high vibration at that point, if you will. But it also made me can look at my last relationship, and instead of having some hard conversations, I kind of just believed in the magic of the situation, and how it's almost like the universe brought us together, and this is going to work because this was meant to be, and not really getting into the problem of not seeing the issues that ended up ending the relationship. And they were there early on, and I could have tried to deal with them early on. Kind of always pushed it, when I moved down to Portland, that's when I'll really deal with it. But the reality is, probably couldn't. And finally, there's the thing of what I would have to become. And looking at a lot of the spiritual gurus and the people out there, as I was talking in my last video, of becoming somebody ego-filled, where my brand is more important than my message, especially if, let's say, I get big enough where I have employees and people under me and trying to, do that. All of a sudden, what's more important is me getting out and publicly speak and not saying anything to harm my brand. That do I not talk from my heart and what I believe? Do I try to just go with the common denominator and what that actually does to us? Because I don't believe human beings are greedy at all. I think we're very giving people, but I do, based off what I've read, is when we have something, we'll work our butts off to not lose it. And that is a form of greed, but it's just kind of a thought of lack. And that can cause us to kind of sell our souls and become a bastardization of who we are. And looking at a lot of the spiritual gurus, especially people in Hay House, and really seeing them dilute their message and dilute who they are so they can stay on brand and kind of protect dangerous people within there, or people who don't align but having to do that because they want to keep that Skrilla. Would I have to become that? And yeah, so that's pretty much what I'm afraid of, kinda. So part of me is fine with where I am, especially since nothing's really grabbed me and said, yes, that's what I want to be. That's how I want to inspire people. That's how I want to do it. And so that's why I kind of feel like I'm just moving through life, growing sideways, like I said. I'm still getting better and growing. It's just like a plant. I'm growing sideways where the sun is. I'm just not growing up, right? I saw that on the comments on that song on YouTube. Anyway, I love you for who you are. Thank you for supporting me, and you are worthy.